Stuart, this is Bill.
Yes.
I have a question for you. Um, I'm new to this work. I started reading about Rudy, oh, maybe 5 years ago, but I felt a great attraction, but also a great resistance. Anyway, what I noticed is that he talks a lot about transmuting our negative energies and impulses to raise our energy up.
Mhm.
But sometimes that just feels really abstract to me. Could you give some, could you speak to that and try to make it relatable on a more practical level and then kind
Well,
of tie it in with the meditation practice?
two things, Bill. First of all, I speak about this just about every class that
Okay.
you just asked. Look, people are filled with a lot of chaos. They have minds that never shut up. They have emotions that are like quicksand. They have sexual energy that, really kind of drives people crazy. And when you combine the three of these things inside a human being, you have the local insane asylum. And the biggest part of this meditation is learning how to transform those energies which are killing us inside, into life-giving energies, into energies that give us a connection with spirit. And mostly why people are not connected with spirit is they're so clogged up inside. They're so full of themselves. You call it ego, call it whatever you want to call it, that there's no room for higher energy to truly live inside them. So when Rudy talked about the transformation of negativity into, a positive energy, what he was talking about is learning to use the mind consciously, learning to have gratitude so the heart will open, learning how to use sexual energy consciously. Now, this is all part of the evolution of a human being when they practice deep meditation, deep inner work. And then it begins to reflect in their daily life. Because when you begin to fix yourself inside, you begin to see the world differently. Life is no longer the enemy. Life is no longer a strange creature. Life is the teacher. It is teaching us exactly what we need to learn in order to grow inside ourselves and make it possible for the soul to evolve and connect with what's infinite in the universe. So our very activity changes. You understand? The way we see the world changes. Our hearts are open and there's compassion, there's love. We're no longer intimidated by other people's, so to speak, stupidity and the kind of things that people do in life. We have the strength inside in order to become and embrace life as this extraordinary teacher. But we need to build that. You understand? I mean, when I first started doing this meditation, I couldn't sit 5 minutes and do it. Well, I did it when I was in Rudy's classes, but if I try to do it on my own, my head was like a bird cage full of canaries singing. I couldn't sit. How am I going to do that? Then I worked at it and I worked at it, and 5 minutes became 10 minutes, and then 20 minutes, and then a half hour. And suddenly my mind was no longer a bird cage full of there was silence, there was quiet, and I was capable of receiving knowledge, wisdom that came right from the core and the fountainhead of all creativity in the universe. So what we're doing here is transforming ourselves. We're transforming ourselves. We're making ourselves more open to higher energy, God, whatever you want to call it, so that that can truly nurture us and help us to grow every day and to begin to see a different world, than ordinary people see. People see a world that's just endlessly full of conflict. And the objective world is endlessly full of conflict. But the objective world also reflects the reality that exists inside each and every human being. And as we transform that reality, that internal reality, we no longer see life that way. We have compassion for the suffering of other people. We have love, and we allow people, even the people that are the most difficult people in our life, we allow them to become teachers for it. Why did we attract these people? Why have these people come into our lives? They've come into our lives to teach us something about ourselves. We need to get stronger inside. We need to get more open inside. I mean, in many ways, these people that are difficult for us are a gift of God. Because when you finally begin to learn meditation, those people and all the irritation they bring into, they force you to go deeper inside so that you can really build a strength and a balance and an open heart that can deal with whatever life presents you. So when Rudy talked about, I mean, he always used to talk about, you need mulch, in order to produce an organic garden. You need compost to produce it. And it's true. Tension is like compost. Our job through this meditation or through whatever spiritual practice anyone does is to learn to transform that tension into a life-giving energy. And what we do is it gives us life. You understand? We're giving birth to ourselves, and it's like an immaculate conception. We're giving birth to ourselves so that we can learn to work out our karma, to live with compassion, to live with love, to get real knowledge and wisdom that allows us to distinguish between what's real in the world and what's an illusion. So I think that what Rudy developed is something so extraordinary. I'm not sure the world is ready for it, or at least in a massive, dose of it, where you get millions of people doing it. I am sure that each and every individual human being can use this meditation if they practice it to transform themselves. And if they learn to transform themselves, they learn to see a different world. Life is suddenly sacred. Life is suddenly, the greatest treasure we have. It's something sacred. The breath, every breath we take is sacred. And finally, through working on oneself, through doing deep meditation, deep inner work, we learn to transform that negativity into a human being that has become sacred living in the world. Doesn't mean we have to be monks and, lamas and live in monasteries. One of the things I loved about Rudy is that he transformed New York City into something sacred. I mean, it was amazing for me to be around him walking through the streets of New York City. Suddenly, this city that I used to hate and detest and I was always wanting to get out of became a sacred place. And it was his energy and his wisdom and his knowledge that was capable of doing something like that. And I said to myself, Stuart, you got to learn how to do this. I mean, you weren't born to live in monasteries or ashrams or, get a cave in the mountains and meditate all day. I mean, I was born in for God's sake, the South Bronx, tenements of the South Bronx. I needed to learn to transform that kind of energy, the energy of a place like New York City or wherever I live, into something sacred. It's my teacher. You bow to your teacher. Life is the teacher. One bows to the teacher. One has gratitude for whatever life is teaching them. And then this double breathing exercise develops a chakra system in a human being that makes it possible to do everything I'm talking about. So, look, meditation is a waste of time. I teach meditation, and I shouldn't say this unless you can make it palpable. If it can become something practical that you use in your life, oh, it's a total waste of time. Otherwise, it just spaces everybody out. But it needs to be made palpable. It needs to be made practical so that the world around you, you know, becomes, something that is rare and sacred and extraordinary and beautiful. And only because we have overcome the blocks and the tensions in ourselves that keep us from seeing that if we don't do the kind of work on ourselves that's essential that a human being must do. So it's all about creating an organic garden. That organic garden is deep inside each and every one of us. But we have to transform the compost. We have to, use tension and transform it into something that brings life instead of kills us. You become a spiritual warrior. And I think that's an amazing way to live. And then you don't judge people. You don't have opinions about what's right or wrong, or it's all bullshit. You just live and you learn from whatever your karma brings you and allow it to make you more of a human being. So I'm sure, look, I spent a lot of time with Rudy, and I mean, I learned all this. And it took me years to develop it. I used to hear him talk about these things all the time, but it took years for me to develop it inside myself, where it became a living reality, something that I could live with every day. And all that amounts to is the development of a chakra system that enables one to be in contact with higher energy in the universe. So that energy guides us instead of the mind, the ego, our emotions, or, all this stuff that just creates a lot of nightmares for people. So Rudy was talking about this. This is what he spoke so much about this. And I used to love it because even before I met him, I knew I was crazy and I knew I had to change. I knew something had to teach me how to overcome all of the chaos I used to feel inside myself. And I went to, I don't know how many teachers, rabbis and priests and swamis and this one and that one and anyone who had anything. And the first question I would always ask was, how do I get my mind to shut up? How do I get my emotions to shut up? How do I get myself to develop an inner life that really transforms all of that chaos into a human being? And I think this is a really important thing to learn. I mean, why else are we born here? Are we born here to just chase money and power and success and material things? I don't believe that. I mean, I was in business long enough to recognize that most rich people, and I used to know a lot of them because I had to deal with them every day. Most rich people, I mean, they're deeply unhappy people. And it's not anything other that they haven't developed a system inside that enables them to live with their hearts open. And the first person I met who taught me this was Rudy. And it blew me away. I said, I've been looking for years. I mean, I did a podcast today and I had to talk about that, looking for years to find somebody who could teach me how I can live my life with a profound level of peace. And when I met Rudy, oh, And trust me, he didn't make my life easy, Rudy. He never did. I don't think for 5 minutes he made my life easy. He busted my chops and he made me realize, Stuart, you have to get stronger, Stuart. You have to grow. You have something important to do with your life. You better get your shit together, and really learn how to stay connected to God and higher energy. And the only thing that's keeping you from doing it, it was me. That's how it becomes practical. I mean, I've said this a million times, but it's your first class with me. And look, Rudy told me, he said, if anyone ever asks you who the guru is, tell them the guru is life. And I mean, this was one of the most important things I learned. Understand? The greatest teacher we all have is life. Life is sacred. We're born here to learn something, and what keeps us from learning it is that we just congest ourselves with illusion instead of opening and letting life be the teacher. Now, when he told me that, it took me about 20 years to learn what he meant of daily doing inner work. You know, the dragon was inside me and I had to slay it. So I hope this helps you a little bit, Bill. It's really, something that's almost impossible to understand in your head. It's just something you have to do. So it becomes living reality, not just something, some, idea that you kind of understand in your brain, but it's a living reality. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? It's a blessing to be sitting in this class with all of you. It's such a gift. And I can't tell you how I'm grateful for each and every one of you being here. And what your presence, I say it all the time, but I have to keep repeating it because it's true, of what your presence does to help me grow inside myself. I don't look at myself as a guru. I don't want to wear robes and be Swami Stuart and, all that stuff. But I do know that each and every one of you is a teacher for me. And your presence really makes me work deep on myself. And after 50 years of doing this, I still have to work deep on myself. Because creative energy, God, whatever you call it, there's no limitation to it. It's endless in the universe. So thank you all. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, I have a question.
Yes, Bob?
How is the student a teacher for you?
Excuse me?
How is the student us? How are we a teacher for you?
Bob, each and every one of you is a unique individual. Each and every one of you brings your baggage to these classes, and in order to work with each and every one of you, I have to grow inside. I have no choice but to grow inside. And each and every one of you reminds me of my limitations that I have inside. And I could poo-poo it and walk away and say, oh, the hell with this, who needs it? Or listen to what each and every one of you bring to my life and how I can use what you bring to me to grow inside myself and get closer to God. That's how you're my teacher. And I'm your teacher because, I'm learning also to overcome my limitations. I have years of training and I can transmit enormous amount of Shakti and energy that nurtures everybody that comes. But at the same time, each person here is unique. Each person here is a unique child of God. And I have to overcome any, it doesn't matter if I like you or I don't like you or, none of that is important. What's important is, can I learn to overcome my problems, my difficulty, and nurture people that are in this class and use myself in service of a higher force of energy in the universe. Now, that's a remarkable way to spend an hour on a Monday evening. And I'm very grateful to all of you for this. I don't want to sit on an ivory tower and, be the guru and everybody comes and kisses my foot twice a day. And that's the pranam they get. That's the Shakti they get. I much prefer this type of stuff. It's like being a spiritual warrior. And the person that I have to overcome is Stuart. And each and every one of you remind me of this. To nurture you, I have to get free of me. For you to receive whatever energy flows through me, you have to get free of yourself. I mean, it's a wonderful marriage because there's no judgment in this marriage. We're all working to get to God, to get open inside, where we're receiving that extraordinary Shakti that comes out of the universe that can nurture us. So we're all teachers for each other. It's fantastic. And hopefully at some point, you all will grow and I'll start making more teachers. People that can do in your own way. I don't think I want people to do Zoom. I mean, I hope that people could just start situations. But anyway, I have to trust how everything just evolves, how it all grows and changes. But do me a favor, don't sit down and start doing this meditation with anyone unless I really ask you to do it. Because when you do this, it's not just sitting and staring at somebody. It really is taking full responsibility for another human being's karma, nurturing them, helping them to grow. This is an enormous responsibility. And it's not just something you can do by looking into somebody's eyes, you know? Because I remember what Rudy told me after I taught my first class. He said, "Oh, Stuart, next year in Big Indian, first I'll teach, then you'll teach, and then we'll show cartoons." You could be Bugs Bunny doing this too. I mean, so it's something that you evolve into. You truly evolve into this as an extension of your growth as a human being. Does anyone else have a question they would like?
Thank you, Stuart. That was wonderful.
You're welcome, Bob. Great question. And thank you, Bill. Great question you asked, really. Anyone else have a question? Okay, then there'll be class. There's a class tomorrow at 1 o'clock and on Wednesday at 7:30. That's my time, Eastern time. I know people are all over the world here. So, and there'll be classes the rest of the week. And then in like 10 days or so, we're going to have a retreat here. That's going to be really super. Looking forward to that. Okay, thank you all. God bless you all. Have a wonderful evening. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.
Thank you,